Hello students, welcome to Distinction Learning Platform, and on this platform you find revisions, tests, quizzes, a lot of stuff. So before we begin our lessons, make sure that you subscribe so that you can be updated with our upcoming videos. To make the story short, let us begin. So in this video, we are talking about bleeding in early pregnancy, which is under obs and gyne. Okay, so bleeding in early pregnancy, it affects a lot of females or pregnant females like that. Okay, so it could be a lot of what causes, but we can categorize it into what bleeding that is related to what pregnancy, and bleeding that cannot be related to what pregnancy, which is maybe they're having cervical cancer, maybe they're having vaginal cancer, stuffs like that. Okay, so bleeding in early pregnancy, let's just say we're going to categorize into three main important things. Okay, so apart from whatever I talked about, what are those three important cases that can lead to what bleeding in early pregnancy? What is the first one? The first one is the one that we talk about here, which is the abortion. So we talk about abortion in details. So the first one is what? Abortion. Okay. What is the second one? The second one is what? Ectopic pregnancy. Okay. And what is the last one? Gestational trophoblastic diseases. Gestational trophoblastic diseases. Trophoblastic diseases. So let's just put capital letter D, diseases. Okay. So these are the three important ones, and these three, like I said, these are related to what? Pregnant. But there are others cases where bleeding is happening, but it's not because of the pregnancy that they have. It's because of something else. Like I said, those that are not related to pregnancy, they are called what? Like they are what we call non-related to what? Pregnancy. That leading to what? Bleeding in early pregnancy. Like what? Cervical cancer, vaginal cancer. Maybe there is laceration in the what? In the cervical region or vaginal laceration. Those can also lead to what? Bleeding in early pregnancy. Okay. Now we'll talk about abortion in details here. Then what about ectopic pregnancy? Just to summarize, because we'll talk about ectopic pregnancy in other videos, as well as gestational trophoblastic diseases. So ectopic pregnancy, basically, it's the type of pregnancy where a fertilized egg is going to implant itself away from the what? The normal implantation site, which is the endometrium of the what? Uterus. It's implant itself in the what? Ovaries, maybe in the fallopian tube, maybe in the cervix, cervical region there, the fundus, isthmus. So a lot of what sites apart from the normal endometrium lining of the what? Uterus. That's what we call ectopic pregnancy. We'll come and talk about it because it's a very, very important case as well. So what about gestational trophoblastic disease? This one normally the fertilized egg is going to what? Implant itself in the what? Normal site, which is the endometrial site of the uterus. That's going to implant itself, but the problem is because of the cells inside, they are proliferating or dividing abnormally, causing what? Early bleeding in what? Pregnancy. Very, very important cases to take note of that. Okay. So these are the three important cases that can lead to bleeding in early what? Pregnancies. Now let's talk about what? Abortion. Very important case. Now, if we talk about abortion, basically we know that abortion is the expulsion or the extraction of the fetus from the what? From the mother before the age of what? Viability. Very important definition that you need to take note of that. But there is also other definition for like abortion. According to WHO, it defines abortion as the extraction or expulsion of the fetus from the what? From the mother before the age of viability, and that fetus has to have the weight of what? It has to weigh about what? Less than 500 grams. Okay, that's according to WHO. And that 500 grams, the weight of that fetus, about 500 grams, it is attained about approximate about what? 22 weeks, which is 154 days in days. Okay, so that's according to WHO. So what are we saying about abortion? We are saying basically, let's just put it simple. We are saying expulsion. So we are saying expulsion, okay, of what? Fetus from the mother from the mother before the age of what? Before the age of viability. Again, what do we mean if you say age of viability? So age of viability basically is a stage where a fetus can survive outside the what? The uterus. If you get a fetus from the uterus, then it is able to what? To survive without medical intervention. Then that simply means that that fetus has attained what? The age of viability. But the age of viability differs from what? Place to place or country to country, okay? But according to WHO, the age of viability is approximately starting from what? 22 weeks and above, because 22 weeks is the where the fetus is going to weigh about what? 500 grams or greater than or equal to what? 500 grams, which is what? Very, very possible for a fetus to survive out of what? Uterus. But other countries, like including Zambia, the age of viability is what? Greater than or equal to what? 28 weeks of what? Gestation age, okay? Others, they can consider 24, okay? Now, so regardless of whatever I've explained, okay? Now, let's talk about the fetus. Now, the fetus comes out. What do we call that fetus that comes out because of abortion? We call it what? Abortus, okay? Very important term to take note as well. Abortus. Okay, now let's talk about another incident or another important case about abortions. So abortions, these are very, very important cases because they are going to affect about 10 to 20% of all pregnant women, okay, or all pregnancies, okay. So 10 to 20% is going to affect that. So what are we talking about? So we're talking about the incidence. So the incidence of what? Abortion is about what? It's going to affect 10 to 20% of all what? Pregnancies. Of all pregnancies is going to affect like that, okay? Of all pregnancies, okay? But again, you know what happens? There are some people that there are some females that are pregnant, but they want to abort that fetus illegally, okay? So if you talk about the incident of that, is about what? 10%. So 10% of cases they are going to what? Induce the illegally. So 10% of all abortions they are going to be induced what? Illegally. Okay. There are other like also prevalences or incidences where like in the first trimester we'll talk about that. In the first trimester it's going to affect about the 75%, okay? And the other case is that before 16 weeks of gestation, also abortion will happen about what? 75% of cases. Also, you need to take note of that. Very, very important, okay? Now, since we've talked about the introduction of abortion, now let's talk about how we can classify abortion. You need to understand that as well. So how can you classify abortion? Abortion can be classified whether how it happens. Is it happening on its own, or maybe someone wants what to induce abortion? So basically, we're going to on its own we're going to say spontaneous, and in induction basically we are going to say induced abortion. So this abortion that we are talking about can be classified further into two. So this abortion that we are talking about, we can classify it into what? Spontaneous, okay? Spontaneous, and what is the other one? The other one is what? Induced. So let's put it here, induced, okay? Induced type of abortion, because someone just want to induce that abortion intentionally. So now, since you've talked about spontaneous and induced, so first of all, let's talk about the induced one. The induced one can be of two types as well. So it can be maybe illegally. Remember, we talked about the illegal here, which is so funny. So illegal, basically, which is account about 10%. So we're going to say induced, it can be illegal. So we're saying, so induced can be further categorized into two. So we're saying it can be what? Illegal or legal. Legal, we can say, we just put empty G. So medical termination of what? pregnancy, or MTP, sorry, MTP. Medical termination of pregnancy, which is legal. So this is legal or illegal. That is the further division of what induced type of what abortion. It can be illegal or legal. Okay. Medical termination of what pregnancy. Now let's go here, which is the most important one, the one that we talk about here, the spontaneous what abortion. Again, so now spontaneous abortion now it's happening on its own. Now you need to know. So happening on its own can be also of two types. Is it maybe sporadic? Okay. So what are we saying? So this spontaneous can either be this, okay? Can be further categorized into two, okay? So we are saying, is it either sporadic, okay, or maybe recurrent? So what do I mean about these two? You need to understand something. So is it sporadic or recurrent? So let's start with recurrent. So this spontaneous abortion that is happening, did it happen previously, maybe in the previous pregnancy? If it happened and again it happens again, like this current pregnancy, basically they're talking about what? The recurrent type of what? Spontaneous abortion. Sporadic, basically it's just happening for the first time, okay? It's happening for the first time due to what? Acquired causes, okay? Or due to other causes that we talk about as well. So either way, either sporadic or recurrent, these they can be further categorized into two. So these two can be further now categorized into 6 main subcategories of what is spontaneous abortion, which is the first one is what? So there are 6 now, they are wrote here. So the first one is what? Threatened, okay? Threatened, that's the first one, abortion. So that is the first one. What is the second one? The second one is what? Inevitable. So let's put it here. Inevitable, okay? Type of abortion. What is the other one? The other one is what? The other one is incomplete, okay? Incomplete. If there is incomplete, there will be what? Complete, okay? That is the complete. Then after that, then there will be what? There will be septic, okay? Which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the last one should be what? Should be missed, okay? The other one should be missed. So the last one should be what? Missed type of what? Abortion. So now we've talked about the major what types of spontaneous abortion. The first one is what? Threatened abortion. The other one is what? Inevitable. The other one is incomplete. If there is incomplete, there will be what? Complete abortion. After complete abortion, there will be missed abortion, and the last one is what? Septic abortion. Don't worry, we'll talk about each type like here, starting from here. Threatened, inevitable, complete, incomplete, missed, and what? Septic. They are about what? 6 of spontaneous abortion. Now, since we've understood how we can classify abortions, now what else are you supposed to know? Okay, you need to know now what could cause this abortion that we're talking about. So let's just say not induce. Induce, you are just there's no cause, you're just inducing it. Okay, so we are talking about the spontaneous abortion. What could cause that? Okay, so the causes can be further categorized into what? First trimester, which is less than what? 12 weeks. Okay, first trimester, which is less than what? 12 weeks. There are some causes that can cause abortion in what? Less than 12 weeks, which is within the first trimester. There are also other causes that can cause abortion in the what? Second trimester. You are going to be asked such a question. Now, before we go categorize here, we have the all causes here. So let's try to explain the all causes so that you can get the concept. All causes. But since there are a lot of causes, don't worry, I've got what? A mnemonic for you. So which is what? This one. Listen. Which is what? This one. Get in pub M. Get in pub M. That is what? All the causes of what? Abortions. Either first trimester abortion or the second what? Trimester abortion. Very important to take note. So now, we'll start with this one. So get in pub. Get in pub, like that, okay? So get, now this get, let's start with G. G stands for what? G stands for genetic. So I'll be explaining. So make sure that you pay attention. Each course I'll explain in details because I'm not writing the things here. I'll be just explaining. Okay. So what are we saying about G? G was say genetic. Genetic factors. Okay. Genetic factors. So genetic factors. Okay. So genetic. So G stands for genetic. Now what are the genetic factors that can cause abortion? So the first one are what? Chromosomal abnormalities. Remember that the normal number of chromosomes on each position, there has to be what? 2. But there are some situations where you have on that position there are about 3, which we call trisomy. Okay, trisomy. So trisomy is one of the genetic cause of what? Or chromosomal abnormality that can arise, and one of the cause of what? Abortion. But which one is the common? Because we've got trisomy 21, which is the Down syndrome. We've got trisomy 18. Okay, we've got trisomy 16. But among those trisomy, the most common cause is what? Trisomy 16. So let's put T. So here we're going to put the most common one is what? Trisomy 16. But also trisomy 21, like, which is Down syndrome, is also the most common cause. But the most common cause is what? Trisomy 16, because the fetus can't survive. Apart from that, under genetic, what else do you think? There's also apart from that, there is also like monosomy. Okay, monosomy, it is Turner syndrome, can also what? Cause that. Polyploid type of what? Chromosomal abnormalities basically can also cause what? Can cause the abortion. Okay, so just remember about that. Okay, I remember that genetic is the one that's going to carry what? Carry about 50% of what it causes. So this is one of the most common cause of what? Abortion in the first trimester. We'll talk about that, 50%. Okay, so let's go to another one now. Let's go to endocrine, which is E stand for endocrine and metabolic what? Abnormalities. So what are we saying about E? So we're saying endocrine and what? Metabolic what? Metabolic. So let's just put and metabolic abnormalities. So endocrine and the metabolic abnormalities. So what is under endocrine? So under endocrine, so basically if you talk about endocrine, we're talking about things that can affect maybe ovulation, like that. So the first thing is what? You know that if you talk about the menstrual cycle, it has some phases that we need to talk about. The menstrual phase, luteal phase, proliferative phase, like secretory phase. Those are those things that you need to take note. But here, the most important phase that is going to be affected and promote what? Abortion is luteal phase. So there are luteal phase what? Disorders or defects. So luteal phase, there is some problem that's going on with the luteal phase. Okay, if you don't have like proper luteal phase functioning like that, what's going to happen? There will be low production of what? Progesterone. If there is low production of progesterone, remember that progesterone comes from what? The corpus luteum. Minus luteal phase, you can't have what? Corpus luteum. Then you're going to have low production of what? Progesterone. If you have low production of progesterone, what do you think is going to happen? Then there will be no maintenance of the what? Endometrial lining there. If there's no maintenance, in case implantation, in case fertilization happens, what's going to happen? There will be abortion, because there is no proper environment where implantation should happen, and also placentation, or the development of the placenta. So basically it can lead to what? Abortion. That's under what? That's under the luteal phase defect. What else apart from what? Endocrine, apart from endocrine and metabolic, apart from luteal phase, what else under here? The other case is that you can have also thyroid disorders or thyroid defect. Either hyperthyroidism or hypothyroidism can cause what? Can cause abortions. Okay, can cause abortion. Okay, and the other case about endocrine disorders and metabolic disorders, also like uncontrolled diabetes mellitus, it can also cause what? It can cause abortion. So here, endocrine metabolic disorders, we've talked about the luteal phase defect. What else? apart from that, we've talked about a thyroid defect, hypothyroidism, and the last one is what? Metabolic diabetes mellitus, uncontrolled diabetes mellitus. Okay, let's go to E. E stands for what? Environmental factors. So E stands for what? Environmental factors. Environmental factors. Okay. Yeah, this is the most important part now. So environmental factors, basically, if a pregnant woman smokes, like that, so smoking, okay, alcohol, maybe drugs, toxins, all those things, they can lead to what? Abortion as well. So that's under what? Environmental factors. Basically, it's because of the what? The maternal part, okay? Then T. Let's go to T, okay? Then we're under T, gate, that is thrombophilia. Thrombophilia. T stands for thrombophilia. What does this mean? Thrombophilia is where where someone is what? In the hypercoagulative what? State. They are in the hypercoagulative what? State. Basically, hypercoagulative state basically means that there's what? There is thrombosis, the formation of thrombus in the what? In the blood vessels. Basically, all those things. They are talking about thrombophilia. There will be low platelet count, thrombocytopenia, all those things. But the most important thing that you need to know under thrombophilia is what? Factor 5 Leydig. So here I can put factor 5 Leydig. So factor what? Factor 5 Leydig. So factor 5 Leydig, it has been associated to what? Abortion. Basically, this one is going to affect abortion in the second trimester. I'm going to write here. Don't worry. Okay. So that is factor 5 Leydig under thrombophilia, where someone is in the hypercoagulative what? State. Okay. Then let's go to in. In now, under in there are two I. Okay. The first one is what? Infection. Okay. So here we are going to say infection. This is becoming interesting. Infections. Okay. Remember that infection can be what? Infection can be bacteria, can be viral, can be parasitic. Okay. Now, if you talk about those infections, if you talk about, let's say, bacterial infection can be what? Can be uroplasma, okay? Can be uroplasma, can be chlamydia infections. That's under what? Bacteria. What about parasitic? What do you think? There will be what? Toxoplasmosis, which is what? Toxoplasma gondii, and what else? Malaria. Okay, very important one. That's under what? Parasitic. What about viral? Viral, it can be like cytomegalovirus, which is CMV. It can be rubella virus, okay? Variola. Those are under what? Viral infection, okay? That's very important to take note of that. But just to summarize, here we can just put what? Under infection, we can put torch infections, okay? Let's just put torch infection, okay? Torch infection, okay? So torch infection, this is toxoplasmosis, which is T. Others can be what? It can be like HIV virus like that, okay? Papillomavirus B19, that is under others. R stands for what? Rubella, okay? This C stands for what? CMV, which is cytomegalovirus. H means Hep simplex what? Virus, okay? That is for H. These they cause what? Abortions in the first trimester. We'll talk about that, okay? That's under infection. Then I said it's going to have another what? I. That's what I said here. It's going to have what? Another I. Okay? Another I, what is that? Immunological. Okay? Immunological disorders. So under immunological disorders, again, need to take note of that. Although they are a lot, but as long as you are able to hear whatever I'm talking about, okay? So immunological disorders, what is that? So there are two again. There is immunological disorders that are what? Autoimmune, basically autoimmune diseases, and also alloimmune. Okay. So under autoimmune, basically you are having an autoimmune disorder that is producing autoantibodies that are attacking what? Tissues of the what? Fetus, okay? Or the tissue of the fetus. It can be the placenta or anything. So what are those antibodies that are being produced under under autoimmune disease. There is antibodies, that is which we call anti-nuclear antibodies, anti-nuclear antibodies. Okay, what else? Anti-DNA and DNS, what type of antibodies? What else? And phospholipid, basically, which is further categorized under what? Which is under lupus and coagulant, and also there is what we call anticardiolipin type of what antibodies. That's under what? Autoimmune. What is the other one? The other one is alloimmune. So alloimmune, basically, you know, what happens is like this. So alloimmune, although you know, the bolus, the zygote, the zygote that is going to be produced there after fertilization, it is something that is considered foreign from the what? From the mother. Okay, if maybe at some point that zygote is what? Exposed to the maternal circulation. The maternal circulation is going to start producing what? Antibodies that will start attacking what? The fetus there, causing what? Abortion. That's under alloimmune and also autoimmune type of what? Disorders. Let's go to P. What is P? P is what we call PROM. So let's just put it PROM. Okay. P is what we call PROM, premature rupture of what? Membrane. Okay. The fetal membrane, or the membranes are what? Ruptured due to some certain reason that we'll talk about in future. Okay. PROM, but this premature rupture of membrane, if it happens earlier, basically it's going to cause what? Abortion. But it happens late, maybe after the age of viability, then you can just say it is causing what? Preterm what? Labor. But if it happening before what? The age of what? Viability, then you can say the cause of what? Abortion is what? PROM. Very important. Premature rupture of membrane. Okay. Now let's go to another one. A. A is what? Anatomic anomalies. Okay. Anatomic anomalies. Okay. Anatomic anomalies. So anatomic anomalies, now it can be what? So anatomic anomalies, basically anomalies that can come from what? Uterus, and also that can come from the what? Cervix. So those are what we call cervical uterine anomalies. So what is that? So let's start with the cervical. The cervical can be what? Incompetent. Basically, it can't close due to some certain reasons. Okay, so what do we call that? We call it cervical incompetence as one of the most important cause of what? Second trimester abortions, and one of the cause of what? Recurrent abortions. We'll talk about that. Okay, that is about the cervix. Then what about the uterus? The uterus anatomic anomalies. The first one is what? If you have maybe the septate type of uterus, or maybe biconnuity type of what? Type of the uterus. Okay, those are the under what? Anatomic anomalies. What else apart from that? Also uterine fibroids. Uterine fibroids are the also important cause of what? Abortion. Like what? There is a subcategories of uterine fibroid or fibroid, which is what? The first one, the most important one is what? Submucosal fibroid. If you remember from abnormal uterine bleeding, it was one of the cause of what? Dysmenorrhea, HEP type of what? Bleeding. You need to take note of that. You should be what? Connected. Okay, that's under anatomic anomalies. Then let's go to what? B. B, which is very, very important. B stands for what? Blood groups. Okay, so blood group. Blood group what? Incompatibility. So blood group incompatibility. So blood group incompatibility, it has been shown something which is interesting. You need to take note of that. So it has been shown that like if the mother is what? The mother is the blood group what? O. Okay, and the father is the blood group who? Father is what? Blood group what? A or B. Okay. Remember, if you cross this one according to genetics, if you cross that one, there is now the probability that the fetus that's going to come out is what? Is going to have what? Blood group A or blood group what? B, in case maybe this is B or M. Okay. Now, if this is the fetus that's going to come out, remember that if the mother is blood group O, what's going to happen? Blood group O, they are going to have what? Antibodies that are what? Anti-A or anti-B type of what? Antibodies. These antibodies, they have that possibility to start attacking A or what? B. Okay? Type of blood group that is found in the fetus. Okay? In case maybe if there is something that is what going on with the mother, maybe at some point the blood of the fetus was exposed to the blood of the what? The mother. The mother is going to be what? To the inflammatory response is going to be activated, thereby the mother will start producing those what? Autoantibodies, whether anti-A type of antibody or anti-B type of antibody. Basically, all this process is going to what? Cause what? Abortion. Okay, basically in the first what? Trimester. The last one is what? M. M is what? Maternal. Okay, M is what? Maternal what? Medical illness. Maternal medical illness. Now it's because maybe the mother they are having what? A chronic type of what? Illness, like maybe they are having gestational diabetes, they are having preeclampsia, they are having maybe chronic hypertension, like that. So a lot of women tend what type of medical illness. Okay, all those things. Maybe they are having polyhydramnios, like that. Okay, all those stuffs. Those stuffs, they can cause what? Abortion, if not what? Treated what? Well. Okay. Basically, they can cause abortion in the what? Second what? Trimester. Now, since we've understood the get in pub M, so get in pub M, that mnemonic. Now, since we've understood what it means, now let's try to pick everything here. We're just using letters. So what could cause the first trimester what type of abortion and also second trimester type of what? Abortion. You need to take note of that. What is that? So if we go to G, so G is under what? Genetic factors under what? Under first trimester abortion. Also here, E is under what? First trimester type of abortion. Okay, let's just put small letter E. Another E, which is environmental factors, one of the cause of first trimester abortion. Thrombophilia. Thrombophilia is not one of the cause of the first trimester abortion. It's common in what? Second trimester. Okay. Then, so here we're going to put the T here. Okay. Then infections. Okay. And what else? Another I, which is what? Another I, which is immunological disorder that we talked about. Okay. One of the cause of what? One of the cause of the first trimester type of abortion. Again, if you anatomical anomalies, not one of the cause of what? First trimester abortion. It is what now? Blood group. So B is one of the cause of the first trimester of abortion, but maternal is not one of the cause of what? First trimester abortion. Then the rest which is T, P, okay, T, then you say P, okay, then M and what? A. These are the most common cause of what? Second trimester type of what? Abortion. Very, very important to take note of that, okay? In case they ask you, because there's a question that they can ask you to say, what is the most common cause of the first trimester abortion? You can say genetic factor, because it's about what? 50%, and followed by maybe these, okay, endocrine and environmental, like that, ranging about maybe 10 to 20% of cases, okay? So talk about that. Now, since we are done with the causes, everything, now let's dive in this what? Types of what? Abortion. So let's talk about the types of what? Spontaneous abortion. What are those? So remember, again, to recap, there is what? Threatened abortion, inevitable abortion, complete abortion, and also incomplete abortion, as well as last, which is missed abortion.